Greetings everyone, welcome back to my sketchbook. A few videos back I would have shown you this magazine cover that has Zakk Wylde and Joe Satriani on it. Now Satch actually celebrated a birthday not that long ago, about a week ago now, and his birthday is pretty easy for me to remember, mainly because one of the most important people on the planet to me also has a birthday on the same day. Now, Joe has put out a lot of great albums over the years. Here's just a couple. So, like, you could find this. This is The Extremist. You could find this. And you could find this. This is how I would have stumbled into Joe Satriani as introduced by my buddy Saf. This is a picture on his album cover of the Silver Surfer flying out of the hand of Galactus. Now the Silver Surfer, let's see here, was created by Galactus to be a herald, and he comes from a place called Zenla, and he made an arrangement with Galactus to find worlds for Galactus to eat. So he saved his own planet and his spouse, Shallal-Bal, in this arrangement. Now, this one's an interesting comic because, well, as you can see, that's Thanos there. Thanos, which we'd all have seen from the Infinity Wars. It's kind of like the main bad guy. But this is an interesting comic because you get to see them do this Garfield sort of trick of reusing a frame kind of over and over again. And anyway, I find that interesting, but you do get to see the Infinity Gauntlet as we would have known it when we saw this a long time ago. Anyway, getting back to the Silver Surfer now. Silver Surfer should have been involved in those movies. I don't know if it was because of an arrangement with Sony that you didn't get to see it. But in this particular one, you get to have Galactus here. You get to see Norrin Radd. This is Nova. And the Fantastic Four, at least this version of it, where you don't have Johnny Storm. That's interesting. So, that's how we all got from Joe Satriani to the Silver Surfer to the Fantastic Four. Now, the new Marvel movie, and, you know, it's Shark Week. So, I don't know, let's see what we can do and kind of tie them together. I don't think it's going to really work out, but I don't have a plan beyond that. This is just a sketchbook thing. So let's zoom in just a little bit and scratch down some ideas. So I mentioned Johnny Storm first. So let's see if we can figure out something or a placement of Johnny Storm. I'm just going to make kind of like a fun little mess for Johnny. And it'll kind of make sense, I think. Because what fun would it be to draw the Human Torch as a shark if he's not on fire. That's roughly what I would scratch down, because you don't really get to see the form completely. the Thing. Now the Thing as a shark. Let's try to keep them all kind of together. In my mind, I'm going to make the Thing a hammerhead. And we'll make him kind of rock covered, but we're not there yet. It's got to be kind of bulky. And we'll fix that soon enough. Now these two have a catchphrase. So Johnny Storm here would say flame on, and then he'd light up on fire. Actually, let's have some kind of trails here of smoke and cool stuff. And Ben Grimm here, the Thing, would say it's clobbering time. Now, the two remaining, I don't think there are catchphrases. I think you get to hear some weird stuff that Sue might say, who is the Invisible Woman. Off the top of my head, yeah, I can't really think of anything. Sort of like, I think one of them might be like, it's just a normal whatever day for their family or something like that. And for Reed Richards, I think the only phrase that pops into my head has something to do with like he'd be figuring out something and he'd say something like, well, that's a stretch even for me, something like that. Oh man, and I just got a weird thought. I'm probably going to hate drawing an idea for Reed Richards. But we're not there yet, and it's hard to think at the same time as you're drawing. I don't really know how even this is going to translate into the Invisible Woman. Yeah, I don't know. Ta-da! Invisible, I don't know. I suppose, what if, and as I said, I'm already not really liking what I could get for an elastic shark. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Because if I stretch his head away from his body, which is how I think a lot of us would picture him, yeah, it's going to be ugly, and that's okay. So I'm going to leave his gills kind of here. Ugh. Yeah, I just knew I'm not going to like this. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stretch this fin in an unnecessary way. leave that one kind of normal, and we'll let Sue's body kind of, yeah, kind of be in front. Something like that. Okay, so about 11 minutes for that. Let's see if we can just sort of add a little bit of detail and let this come to an end. Right now I'm just working on the thing a little bit, and maybe I'll zoom in on that just a little bit. If I can stop shaking, please. Now, in my mind, when I think about the thing, I think that what you see on the outside, which is all these rocks, I think that's meant to hold back his actual true form. His true form would be basically energy that draws those rocks towards him. So he would look more like a sort of like a bundle of light rather than just a pile of rocks, and those rocks are just meant to hold his form. At least that's how I like the picture. Ben Grimm and his unelegant name. I'm just stacking some rocks here. Let's see if we can now add a little bit more. Make sure that the rocks kind of separate just a little bit. Something like that. Now, I think a lot of Marvel characters were like really strange ideas where they, would sit around in a room and be like, what's something that hasn't been done before? And somebody would just pick up a random object and go, well, let's make a character out of this. And, I think on paper, which is an obvious term to use, I suppose, certain characters looked ridiculous. So Spider-Man, which is one of my favorites, on paper seems ridiculous. And, of course, how you end up getting really great writers involved and great art kind of brings them out. But you can find a whole bunch of like horrible throwaway characters in comic books. Now, I'm not going to list any off. There's a few that kind of pop into my head that are just like, wow, this is a one and done sort of thing. There are, no, I'm not going to mention them. There are some pretty good ones out there, though. There you go. That's a thing. That almost kind of makes sense. This I'm not really going to have to do a whole lot with because, well, he's on fire. So I just have to make sure that I keep some detail, and the rest would all be lost in the flame formation. A little bit of flame out there. I know this has been brought up before a lot with, especially with these characters, that they hold that sort of ancient earth element kind of motif. So like, you know, this character here, which is made predominantly of energy and rocks, is the earth element. Of course, you have fire, so, and Sue, which is air or wind, and Mr. Fantastic, who's kind of like a water element. I'm just putting squiggly lines here, and maybe I'll let them be a little bit darker down here towards the end, so light burning, all that kind of stuff will be there. Next, oops, I'll make that a little darker there. Anyway, next let's go to Reed. He's supposed to be kind of the most intelligent, with a mind that can, in a lot of ways, peer into other dimensions, if that matters. Like Victor Von Doom would be an incredibly intelligent character as well. But Reed is supposed to be exceptionally intelligent. Now, there's a characteristic that he has, which I'm just going to put in a little bit, or at least hint towards it. And that would be a lightness of his hair at his temples. Yeah, I think this was the better way to go for drawing this one, because in my mind, yeah, I was thinking I was going to have his neck extending, but that would have made him look kind of turtle-like, or like a dinosaur. And this is just slightly more tolerable to let his limbs stretch. I'll admit, in comics, I didn't read a lot of the Fantastic Four as a standalone comic. So a lot of their adventures I would know through cartoons, but not so much through the comics unless they were a special guest, like the Silver Surfer. Yeah. And of course, the movies. I'm ignoring the invisible woman there. I suppose you could say purposely, because we can't see her. How convenient for all of us. Invisibility has got to be kind of like a miserable kind of thing to not be seen. I wonder what they were thinking when they came up with that. Anyway, it's good to be seen. Okay. The underside would be light. Let's say that this part kind of goes a little bit dark because it's flipped around. It's the top side of the fin. Now let's just give line dotting to say that, oh, turns out she's invisible and only we notice. It's funny when you think about like the secrets that you, the comic book reader, were let in on. And then once in a while you get a character like Deadpool would come along and somehow Deadpool was aware that you were there. That fourth wall, as it's called. So, that is the Fantastic Four for Shark Week. And maybe, yeah, well, I look forward to seeing that movie. I think that'll be fun. Let's have our buddy here in squiggly speak. We'll darken it in just a little bit too. Now, I don't know if the concept of the catchphrase came from network TV, possible, I suppose. Like you just couldn't wait to hear Fonzie say, "Hey," with a thumbs up, or Arnold say, "What you talking about, Willis?" A lot of those shows in the 70s, well, maybe it started in the 60s, but I wasn't around then. 60s, 70s, 80s. Even shows like, well, that 70s show, some of the characters had catchphrases. Poor Sue Storm here. She also controls a force field, which is kind of neat. So yeah, today is Friday, the 25th, Shark Week. And I'm almost done here. I'm just putting little sketchbook scratches. I don't know if I need to go any further than that. Right up here, I'll just say it's just like that. See how homely this might look. Well, I don't completely hate it. There you are. That's not so bad. Yeah, well, I guess I could just say that is the thing. Although I don't know if it's fair to call this the Human Torch, but we'll say that this is the torch. The invisible. Although I think growing up, we would have known this as the Invisible Girl, but even for me, that seemed a little strange. Of course, this is Mr. Fantastic. All right, folks. that is it for now. I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy the movie. If you see it on opening day today or at some point, that is cool. So I hope you have a wonderful day whenever you do see this. And hopefully we'll see each other at some point in the near future. All right. Ciao for now.